Hello, and welcome to Tech Chat Tuesday, our weekly web series on issues facing small business owners and how they can be more productive in today's current environment. I'm your host, Earl Kelly, founder and owner of EK3 Technologies in Jacksonville, Florida. On today's episode, we're going to talk about password managers. We're going to talk about how a password manager can help you in your environment, how it can make you more productive, and actually it can make your employees more productive as well, and hopefully make your environment more secure. Before we go into all of the different facets of Password Manager, this episode is going to be a little different. We're going to do some screen sharing, and I'm going to show you some of the cool features of just one of the password managers that we use here at EK3 Technologies. But there are many others that are available on the market. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about why you would use a password manager, and then some of the scuttlebutt, if you will, or people on the internet that will tell you why you shouldn't use a password manager, etc. So before I go into that, I do want to talk to you about why password management and why passwords are so important. If you look at any breach that has happened in the last several years, and we'll take Sony, Target, Home Depot, all of those for as an example, all of those were have the latest and the greatest and the most state-of-the-art security in place. But the one thing that they don't have, the one thing in your environment that will cause you to have a security problem is the least common denominator. You can spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on security software, on security hardware. We can come in and we can run a security audit on everything that you have in your environment. We can make it the most secure that it can possibly be. But there's one thing in your environment that you're never going to be able to control. Well, I say you won't ever, but you can possibly control. But there's one thing in your environment that is the least common denominator and has proven time and time again that it will be the breakdown of any security breach that you have. And that's normally going to be your employees. Employees have a problem with passwords. Employees have a problem with email. Employees doing things that they shouldn't be doing have caused issues in the past with other larger enterprise companies and with small business companies here and around the nation. So the one thing that your employee has control of every day, that they use every day, and they complain about it the most, is their password. I have to change my password. I can't remember it. This site has a password, that site has a password, etc. And we'll notice that passwords are becoming more and more of an obstacle in the business environment. As a matter of fact, your average user now has somewhere between 40 and 60 passwords that they have to keep up with on a daily basis. If you're in an insurance agency, I can tell you that's going to be, depending on how many markets you have, that's going to be somewhere between 100 to 200 different passwords that each employee is going to have to keep up with. Personally, myself and my family, we have about 400 different passwords that we keep up with on a daily basis. Between myself, my partner, everything that we have a large number of passwords that we keep up with. So how do you keep up with those passwords? Well, first of all, you can make them all the same, okay? So you can make every password you have the same exact password, but that's not secure. That's not actually going to help you out. As you know, and you've probably heard us preach many, many times, your password for each individual site should be different. It really should. Secondly, you should have a complicated password. Your password should not be password 123. And it should not be the name of your kid, and it should not be the name of your dog. And it should have numbers, and it should have letters, and it should have symbols in it. One of the things that I've been telling a lot of end users lately is when you see the word password, to not think of password. Think of passphrase. So it's one of the really cool things that you find when you do research on passwords. It's one of the really hard characters in a password to actually hack is a space. So if you say EK3 Technologies in Jacksonville, Florida, that's a fantastic password because it's long and it has spaces in it. Maybe you go even further and you say EK3 Technologies in Jacksonville, Florida is number 1. Now you've got spaces, you've got a number sign, you have number 1. Yesterday, so comes out on Tuesday. A little Hollywood magic here. This comes out on Tuesday, but I always record these on Monday. So yesterday was the Super Bowl. Maybe you say the Eagles are number 1, or I can't believe the Patriots lost, or whatever you do. But use a passphrase and not just a password. There's a couple of different websites out there. If you want to see how secure your password is that you use every day, one of them is called howsecureismypassword.com. If you go to that site, you can put in your password, and it'll tell you how easy it is to crack. There's some, now keep in mind, if you start reading about these, there are some people who will tell you these aren't very reliable. But I will tell you that they will be eye-opening because you think you have a very complicated password, and in fact, it's not. So just some things to think about as far as passwords. Now, one of the reasons that you want to use a password manager is because a password manager will keep up with all of those passwords for you. Not only that, many major password managers will actually create passwords, very complicated passwords for different websites, so that you really only need to know one password, and that is your main password, or your main password for your account. So there are passwords out there. There are password managers out there that will actually change your passwords for you. So especially if you're an insurance agency and you have a password that needs to change every 45 days, or you can't get into that particular carrier's website, the password manager will actually change it for you on day 45. You won't even know what it is. You won't need to know what it is because you have that one password. If you're in a company and you have, again, an insurance agency, you have a lot of passwords that are spread out between a large number of people. Using a password manager will allow you to assign those to another person and keep up with those. So one of the things I know that operations managers have is when a person leaves. So an asset leaves, and now they have passwords to all these different websites, and we don't know what they are. So they'll call support and say, I don't know what they are. And support will be the first to tell you, we don't know what they are either. So you're going to have to use the I forgot my password, and hopefully you'll be able to use that. So again, a password manager will allow you to keep up with that as well, and keep up with all of your users that are left, and allow you to sign in. So whenever I look for a password manager, especially for a client, I'm going to be looking for ease of use. I'm going to be looking for networkability. I'm going to be looking for cost. And I'm going to be looking for the best in class. There are several password managers on the market. There's a great article by PC Magazine on the top 10 password managers for 2018. And so if you go out to PC Magazine, they can give you some examples. I'm going to give you the top 5 that I know off of my head. We'll see how well I am at memorizing. Dashlane is one of them. I used Dashlane for a little while. At the time, Dashlane didn't actually have an integration with Microsoft Edge, so I actually threw Dashlane to the side for a little while. I'm thinking about going back to it, but right now I'm sort of ingrained in the password manager that I use. There's also RoboForm. There's LogMeIn has an option. There's LastPass, and there's one more from Intel. Okay, again, there's 10 of them, but those are the ones that I can tell you right off the top of my head. The one I'm going to demo for you today and explain to you why it can be helpful is LastPass. LastPass is one of the, I'm going to say they're the leader in password management. Between LastPass and Dashlane, those are your two big ones that I've seen out in the wild, if you will. Dashlane, the cost is very minimal. They're about $30 to $40 depending on what kind of discounts you can find online. I believe Dashlane is $39.99 a year, and LastPass I pay $29.99 a year. So Dashlane is actually rated #1 by PC Magazine, with LastPass coming in a very close second to it. There's actually a couple more that were ahead of it. But again, I like LastPass, and a lot of people like LastPass because it's been out there longer. It's a more mature product, if you will, and to me, it has more features. Now, one of the really cool things I like about it is that it's available to me no matter where I'm at, no matter what workstation I'm at. So if I'm at home or I'm at the office, or even if I'm on my cell phone, LastPass is there for me. So let's get into it, and let me tell you a little bit more about it. So I thought we'd start out by looking at PC Magazine's list. I keep referring to this, so I wanted to make sure that you were able to see PC Magazine's list of the top 10 password managers of 2018. You'll notice Zoho Vault is on there. Dashlane, again, I said was looks like it was #1. Sticky Password, Keeper, Password Boss, LastPass, LogMeIn, etc. You'll see also the costs that are out there. Now, one of the things that I told you we are going to do a demo of LastPass, and one of the things that I really like about LastPass is it is $24 a year. But even if you don't pay for LastPass, there's LastPass will actually work absolutely free. And the only thing that you pay for with the $24 is a couple of premium features that some people may or may not use. So let's get into it and let's discuss what LastPass is. So if I go over here, and I'm going to go to LastPass.com, and you see you can sign up for free. And if I look at under premium, everything works for premium. The only difference is I can share passwords. It'll keep Wi-Fi logins. I can have a digital contingency plan. So if I die, people know my passwords. And I can also do multi-factor options. So if I want to have my password on my account secure, and then whenever I try to log in, then it pops up and it says, get the code. I mean, we've all dealt with multi-factor options. And then it gives you 1 gigabyte of encrypted file storage. Again, most people aren't going to use that. So if you use LastPass in the free version, you really get everything I'm about to show you, and minus these options that are listed here. So what is LastPass, and how does it happen? How does it work? So if I'm on LastPass.com, obviously it says I can get LastPass for free. And when I click Get LastPass for free, the first thing it does is it asks me to load it up in a browser. Now the browser that I'm using today is is Google Chrome, but LastPass works in Microsoft Edge, it works in Firefox, and it works in Internet Explorer. Not only that, it works in all of those simultaneously. So if I'm using Chrome, if I need to switch over to Explorer, all of my passwords will be there. If I need to switch over to Firefox, again, all of my passwords will be there. So what you don't see is this little red box that's right here. And this little red box, when it's red, it actually means it's logged in, but I'm going to log out. And you'll see that this little red box is now black. That means it's logged out. So to create a free account, you would click on the LastPass little box here, and you would click on Create an Account, and it would create an account for you. Again, the accounts are free. It doesn't cost you any money to keep the account. Again, it only costs for the premium features. You would put in your email address if you've already had an account. Now, in the case of this demonstration, I've already created an account. So you would create an account and then you would create a master password. Now, I recommend highly that you make the master password very difficult. Again, keep in mind, use a passphrase and not necessarily a password. Okay? And then I'm going to enter in my passphrase. Give me a moment of silence while I type. And you can click on remember email or remember password. Now, if you click on remember password, I would only do that if this is the computer that you're on every day and it's your password at home and you're going to lock it and you're going to remember to lock it every time that you log off of it. If you're not, then I would not check remember password. And LastPass is really good about telling you that you've done something like that. If you click on remember password, it will say, are you sure? Because it's really easy for someone to get your information, especially if your device gets infected or if you're on a laptop and that device gets stolen. So I'm just going to click login, and I'm going to hopefully type the correct password. There we go. And I'm going to sign into LastPass. Now, you'll notice that nothing is here. Okay? But LastPass is logged in and we're good to go. So here's where the power of LastPass comes in. It didn't like how I logged in. So if I go to a website, wow, this is live demonstration for you right here, folks. Is not happy. There we go. Okay. So if I go to a website that needs my password, so we'll say, I'm going to go to Comcast.net. That's one I use all the time. Okay. So if I click on sign in, anytime that you see a sign in screen when you're using the web and you have LastPass installed, you're going to notice over here there's a LastPass option. You'll see that in each one of these fields that you can sign into. This means that if there's a 1 or 2, it'll tell you the number of logins that LastPass has available for this particular site. So actually at this point, LastPass doesn't have any. So we'll enter in our username and we'll enter in our password. Hopefully it's the correct password. It is. And then what you'll see is LastPass says, hey, I noticed that you typed in a password. Do you want me to keep that password? And so I'll say add, and it'll add that password to my vault. So now if I go into my LastPass vault and refresh, you will notice that it has my password listed there. And it has the URL and the website. Now what's great about this is it also keeps the URL. So if you just wanted to come to the LastPass website, you can actually click launch right from here and go to that site. Okay? So I'm going to log out now, and we'll see that LastPass will keep our password. I'm going to sign out. We'll see that LastPass will keep our password, and that way the next time that we log in, we don't actually have to remember it. So I'm going to click launch again. It's going to bring up the site, and now you'll notice that LastPass just went ahead and logged in for us. We didn't have to log in to the site. We logged in as soon as we got there. So if we go into LastPass, there are some options that we can do for each one of the sites. Number one, we can update the URL. We can change the name if we wanted to. You can actually do this by folder. You can make some notes if you would like. You can actually require it to ask for a different password, or you can have it auto log in. This is fantastic, especially when you're in if you're in an agency or a medical practice and you have to actually always go to the same site, you can just have it auto log in daily the minute that it needs to load. Okay. It also has a couple of other options that are here. So it will show you your username history. So if you had history here, it would show you what your different usernames have been for this account. Especially helpful if you can't remember your Google password. And the same thing with your password. It will show you your password history. But it will also do some really awesome things that you wouldn't think about for passwords. So let's say that I went to a site and I needed to change my password for that site. So I'm going to go to I'm going to go to our website. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to one of our clients' websites. And I'm going to register for an account. And upon registering for an account, it's going to ask me for a password. Now, I don't want to have to remember all of my passwords and all that kind of stuff. So LastPass has some really awesome options. So I'm going to say my name. Again, I'm going to put in all the information that I need to put in. I'm going to create a username here. We're going to create the same username. I'm going to call it EK3 support. Now, for password, I can come up with the password if I want to, but LastPass has some really cool options. Do you see this little button over here? This little button allows me to click it, and LastPass will actually create a password for me. How cool is that? So LastPass has generated a password based on what it thinks the requirements are. Okay, I can click on show options and it will actually do some other options. It will do password length, it will do password complexity, etc. So you're saying to me, well, now that password I'm never going to remember. That's the point. The more complex the password, the more secure your access, the more secure your access everywhere, and you really only need to remember your LastPass account. So I'm going to say fill password. It's going to put the password in there. I'm going to tell it I am not a robot, and I'm going to click register. Okay. Now again, I don't have to keep up with that password. If I go into my LastPass vault and I hit refresh, the next time that I need to go in there, I did not click add, sorry. So the next time I need to go in there, I'll just hit launch and LastPass will remember my password. If I don't remember it, I can always look at it, but LastPass will remember it for me. So that's the cool thing about LastPass is you do not have to remember the passwords will be remembered for you. This is also the other information that you loaded on that screen. So LastPass keeps up with all the information it can find on that particular screen. Now what's also neat about LastPass is, and this makes shopping really easy, but you can actually go in and add credit cards. So if you have a payment card that you use all the time for a particular site, instead of giving that credit card to your office manager or what have you, you can actually enter that information here in LastPass. And then whenever the credit card comes up on the screen, you can actually go into LastPass and you can say, go into LastPass and you can say, show me the form, the credit card, and you can fill in the credit card right there. You don't have one in here right now. But what's really cool is you can also do addresses. So what if I was able to do this? What if I was able to add an address? And we'll say this is our main address. And what's going to be my name. And we'll say my username is always, and I don't have to fill out all of this information if I don't want to. Whoops. Gotta figure out how to type. Okay, and I can enter in all this information. And the reason I do all that is so I only have to enter that information in one time. So now that I've entered in my address, now any registration page that I go to, I have already entered the information, so I don't have to enter it again. For example, can go to back to our list of PC Magazine. Their top 10 password managers of 2018, and let's say I want to order PC Magazine. Now, when you see this registration page, you'll notice that there is a little card here, and I can right-click on the card, and it will show me all of my LastPass options. Or if I left-click on the card, it'll ask me which form fill I would like. So maybe I have different locations, or I have my home address, and I have my work address. By simply clicking on that, you'll notice it has filled out the form for me, and all I have to do is place the order. Now, again, if I had a credit card listed in there or the expiration date, it would do that as well. So it's a little bit dangerous in that it'll actually allow you to spend money very easily, but it is still a great option to have available. So you can have multiple different addresses in here. You can have multiple different payment cards. You can even have bank accounts if you're into that as well. You can, with different versions of LastPass, again, we're using the free version. There's also an enterprise version. With the enterprise version, you can actually manage different users and control their accounts. So if you're in a business environment, you can control each one of the users' different accounts. And so as long as they only know that one password and they don't have any of the other passwords that are in LastPass because they're complicated and difficult to remember, then all you have to do when that person leaves is to disable that one account, and then they don't have access to those passwords anymore. Conversely, when the new employee logs in, you simply change the account, reassign all of the passwords to the new employee, and the new employee is able to work again. There's also LastPass for family, and you can share it between families, etc. So those are some of the quick options on LastPass. Again, I use it a lot. I use it because no matter where I'm at, my LastPass information is always available. So here I'm in Chrome. If I was to load up into Internet Explorer or Edge, it's all that information is still there. Also, if I was to log in at home, all of that information is there so that I can then work from home, or I can keep the information, and no matter where I'm at, I can always remember my password. I kind of look at LastPass as the cell phone of email addresses and passwords. So if you remember when cell phones first came out, we had all these numbers in our head, and I might be showing my age, but we had all these numbers in our head and all these people that we would call. But I can tell you right now, I don't know anyone's number because everyone's number is in my phone. And it's the same thing with LastPass. I don't know any of my passwords for any of my sites because they're all in LastPass. If I'm out of town, I can log into this LastPass website at lastpass.com, wherever I'm at, and I can actually get this site. I don't necessarily need to have the extension installed. I can get this site, and it will load that site right from here. So it's a handy tool to have for anyone who travels, anyone who's on the road, anyone who is tired of trying to remember passwords. The other thing I can do too is I can actually share this password. So if I have a spouse or someone that I know needs this information, maybe there's some notes on here in this address, or maybe there's some notes in this password that I think someone needs, I can actually add the notes, and then I can share it with them very easily. So again, this is just LastPass. Most of the password managers that are out here work very similar. So find one that you like and use it for you just yourself. Decide if you like it, and then roll it out to your entire company. So it's not all roses and daffodils when you first start using a password manager. I will tell you that when you first start out, it is a little cumbersome and complicated. Um, you're like, I don't understand why this guy wanted me to use a password manager. But once you start to use it, you start to understand, and it starts to click as to why you should have a password manager. You'll love it, and you won't want to go back to anything else. So I did tell you I was going to tell you some of the cons of a password manager, and it depends on who you believe in the cyber world. There are several people who would tell you that password managers are not secure and they are hackable. And there are some leaks that have happened in the past. And again, just like anything on the internet, not everything is 100% foolproof. I can tell you that I haven't had any issues with my LastPass that we use. We also don't use LastPass for any client information. We actually have a CRM that keeps up with that information. That doesn't mean that I don't think LastPass is secure, because again, it has all of my personal information in it. All of the information is actually encrypted to my password. So even the people at LastPass don't have access to it. They'll tell you you have to have the password in order to get the information out. I actually had an extensive conversation with the people at LastPass regarding passwords and the security of them, and they assured me that they're very secure and that there's not a whole lot that I should be worried about. On a scale of 1 to 10, I like to use that. I put that as about a 1 on the things that I'm really worried about. A little convenience over, convenience over that concern. But again, you have to weigh that for yourself. We all have a cell phone. Cell phones are about a 3 on that scale. So I'm going to let you weigh that out for yourself. Should you have any questions on any of the password managers that you find, we'll be more than happy to help you. You can contact us at any one of our support numbers. You'll see them right here on the screen. We have a number in both Tampa and Jacksonville. You can also reach us at support@ek3tech.com. I appreciate you joining me for our weekly web series, Tech Chat Tuesday. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same YouTube channel for Tech Chat Tuesday. My name is Earl Kelly, your founder and host of EK3 Technologies, right here in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.